Believe today is September 17th. This is our second and hopefully last budget meeting, right? For final adoption
Yes, sir.
for the coming year of 1819. We'll start by the roll call before we begin.
Mayor Joseph,
Here.
Councilman Galvin, Vice Mayor Keys, Councilman Bename,
Yeah.
Councilman Zume. Mayor, we have a quorum to proceed.
Thank you very much. We'll stand up now for Pledge of Allegiance, led by our officer coming up, who's going to lead us in Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you very much. All right.
For the record, Councilwoman Keys has joined us.
The invocation? There is a request for you to do the invocation. A request of you.
I was just letting you know she was in the room because she wasn't here when we called roll.
This is the Jewish New Year, and I'd like to wish you all a very happy New Year. Tuesday night is the night of atonement, and it is a time where we forgive everybody and we think about what we've done, and starting the new year fresh, clean slate, and a very sweet, happy, and healthy New Year to everybody.
Thank you. Public hearings, table, tab A, B, C. We have four tabs.
Oh,
Is this the wrong agenda? Or?
no, the agenda is correct, Mr. Mayor. I would like to ask that the tab C and tab D, which are the two, this would be the city side adoption of the CRA amendment and the CRA budget. I'd like to move those to the September 25th meeting. The September 25th regular meeting.
Motion to continue the items to the September 25th meeting.
There is a motion and a second.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Galvin to approve the city manager's request to move tab C and D to the September 25th, 2018 meeting. The motion was seconded by Councilman Philip Bieneme. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passed with a 5-0 vote. Not that I needed a vote.
Okay, consent agenda, we have a motion for approval of the minutes of the August 28th meeting.
So move.
That's not,
Is that, is this,
there's no consent.
Withdraw my motion.
oh, this is,
All right, so tab A.
I have an old agenda, excuse me. Oh, there we go, I'm sorry.
All right, so tab A, please be patient. Apparently, I have to read this tab in its entirety. A resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, adopting a final millage rate of 7.5000 mils for fiscal year 2018 through 2019, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. Whereas the city of North Miami, Florida city has considered an operating budget for fiscal year 2018 through 2019 in accordance with the provisions of section 200.065 Florida statutes as amended from time to time, and whereas the millage rate necessary to fund the city's operating budget for fiscal year 2018 through 2019 is 7.5000 mils, which is 3.89% more than the rollback rate of 7.2193 mils, and whereas in accordance with section 200.065, section 5, Florida statutes, as amended from time to time, a majority vote of the mayor and city council is required to adopt a rate of up 1.7000, 7.5 You know what I'm saying? Adopt a rate of up 7.5000 mils. And whereas the mayor and city council find that the adoption of the proposed final millage rate for fiscal year 2018 through 2019 is in the best interest of the city. Now, therefore, be it duly resolved by the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, Section 1, adoption of final millage rate. The mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida hereby adopt 7.5000 mils as the final millage rate on assessed property value necessary to fund the city's fiscal year 2018 through 2019 operating budget. Section 2, effective date. This resolution shall become effective immediately upon adoption, passed and adopted by a blank vote of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, this blank day of blank 2018.
That's it?
Yep.
Thank you very much. Before we, on the dais, well, we voted for this the first time, and we had public hearing and so forth, and I believe that there are some people here, even if you were heard before, you probably want to voice your concern or give some comments about the millage rate of 7.5. Just for a record, can you tell us where we are in the county as far as millage rate is concerned? Are we one of the smallest, one of the highest?
Compared to Miami-Dade County, the county rate's below 5, the last I read.
Below
in the
5?
Herald. The county is itself.
county.
That's the countywide rate, but keep in mind with the countywide rate, they also have fire district, library district, and other pieces they assess. I would tell you we're probably right in the middle of the pack with regards to other municipalities, with regards to our millage rate. If you want, we can send out. I don't think they've published the one for this year, but I can send the one for 2017. That kind of shows you we're kind of right in the middle of the pack.
All right. Tab A is now open to the public.
Jim Garrett, 11610 North Bay Shore Drive. I took a look at similar cities in the state of Florida. I found only one city that was similar to us, but they had a fire department, Coconut Creek. The population was 61,010 compared to North Miami 62,225. Their budget was 10% less than North Miami. They were at 142.5 million compared to North Miami 156.2 million. And they had their own fire department. And they had a water department too. Their employee base was 394 compared to North Miami 501 employee head count. The millage in Coconut Creek is 6.53 per 1,000. North Miami 7.5. I will urge the city council to roll back the rate by 10% to 6.75 per 1,000.
Hello, Laura Hill, 13075 Griffin Boulevard. I'm here tonight to hopefully advocate for the last time for us to spend the money to replace the tile on Sasso Pool and the bathrooms. I've brought some pictures of the tiles that were probably in place when I think
Millage
Councilman.
rate. Millage rate.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought this was the time for open forum. Okay, I'll be back. Thanks.
I'll be back. Public hearing is still open, man. See none, hear none. Public hearing is therefore closed on the millage rate. Any more discussion or motion?
Before a motion, Mr. Mayor, I think we all have the sense we all would like a much lower millage rate, even lower than the 6.5 suggested. If we could go 4.4. However, because of our, you have a lot of services we provide. One thing I do want to say that I am a little bit concerned is we have the personnel is a little bit inflated on our side when you look at cities our size, similar to our size, but I that's something we could look as the years to come, and I think we had conversation. I had conversation with the manager to see how we could cut, because we almost, we had to do some creative things. I think from the last budget to now, because we were facing either increasing our utility bill, and then on top of the 7.5 where we are, and we were able to not do that. So we do have to give this council at least credit for that, but we are aware that it is a little bit high. We would like for it to be down, and I think that probably be the goal in future council to come. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other comment? If I did open public hearing, and there's someone who wants to say something from the audience.
Did you close public hearing?
Yeah. So
Point of personal privilege, or you're asking it to be reopened?
no, well, I don't know if
Mr. Mayor, should you choose to grant a point of personal privilege, I will support you in reopening the public comment on the millage rate.
go ahead.
Thank you. 1570 Northeast 1319. Didn't we have
Sorry, a name, you have to,
Jay Bishop. Didn't we have a surplus about 2 years ago from the property that was sold over at FIU? Didn't we have a surplus like 2 years ago?
Yeah, there wasn't operating surplus.
So where'd that go?
It's
How
still,
come we're having our millage rate raised?
we're not raising.
The
not
the
raising the
millage
millage
rate
rate.
is not being raised.
Forgive me.
Yeah.
Forgive me. Then.
As a matter of fact, our millage rate when I first started was 7.9. So within the last 4 years, we went from 7.932 to 7.5 2 years ago.
I thought the base had been raised. Then I'm
No.
wrong. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. And for those of you who may not know, our property values have been increasing for the past, 2 or 3 years? For the past
For
three,
the past
that-
5 years.
for the past 5 years, our property values have been increased,
For the past 5 years.
and we still manage to decrease taxes or make sure that your taxes do not go up, though your property values have increased tremendously. So this is something to be commended for.
Can I say something, Mayor? And on top of that, sanitation haven't increased for the past 3 years. We end up subsidize your sanitation. That's when instead of paying $350 or whatever it is, you end up paying $250 per household for the past 5 years. No increase. That's when we eat that. That's another way of passing to you the increase of property value and tax increase for the city.
And a couple of years ago, we managed to take off the charges for the second water meter.
Yeah.
Hey, if we don't remind people, people won't remember. Right?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like,
No, go
I
ahead.
was going to make a motion to
I
approve the
was too,
millage
but
rate,
go ahead.
knowing that we can still lower it tonight if we find other places to reduce funds. We can go down, we can't go up.
No, I know. Are you,
I'll make a motion to approve the millage rate as read.
oh, as is, okay. I was gonna,
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Godwin to approve tab A. The motion was seconded by Vice Mayor Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab B. An ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, adopting and approving the budget of the city of North Miami for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2018 and ending September 30th, 2019, authorizing the amount to be raised by taxation for the operation of the city for the 2018-2019 fiscal year, authorizing the expenditure of funds established by the budget, authorizing a return on investment, transfer from the water and sewer utility fund to the general fund, authorizing the city manager to implement budget amendments, revenue and or expenditure to appropriate or unappropriate funds as required during the fiscal year, and to amend the prior fiscal year budget to facilitate the year-end closing process providing for repeal, severability, and an effective date. Whereas the budget of the City of North Miami, Florida for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2018 and ending September 30th, 2019, attached hereto as Exhibit 1, was considered at public hearings held on September 4th, 2018 and September 17, 2018, as required by Chapter 200 Florida statutes. And whereas the mayor and city council wish to approve and adopt the budget of the fiscal year, the budget of the city for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2018 and ending September 30th, 2019, and to authorize that this amount be raised by taxation for the operation of the city for the 2018-2019 fiscal year. Now therefore be it ordained by mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, that Section 1 budget approved and adopted. The budget of the city of North Miami for the 2018-2019 fiscal year, attached hereto as Exhibit 1, is hereby approved and adopted. Section 2, implement budget amendments. The city manager of the city of North Miami is hereby authorized to implement budget amendments, revenue and or expenditures to appropriate or unappropriate funds as required during the fiscal year, and to amend the prior fiscal year budget to facilitate the year-end closing process. Section 3, expenditure of funds appropriated in the authorized budget. Funds appropriated to the various departments in the budget may be expended by the directors of each department by and with the approval of the city manager in accordance with the provisions of the city charter and applicable ordinances. Expenditures of funds, including but not limited to enterprise funds, internal service funds, and expendable trust funds, under circumstances in which additional revenues are generated by user fees or charges to offset the cost of supplying a service to residents or other city departments, shall not be limited by estimated appropriations, but rather by actual revenue. And to that extent, the actual revenue received shall be deemed to be appropriated. Section 4, return on investment of water and sewer fund assets. The budget includes a transfer from the water and sewer operation and maintenance fund to the general fund, representing the return on investment that taxpayers would receive if the utilities were sold. The transfer for the 2018-2019 fiscal year is calculated at 7.5% of fixed assets as of September 30th, 2017. This transfer may be made annually, but will not exceed 7.5% of the utilities' net fixed assets. Section 5, checks. All checks on city bank accounts shall be signed by any member of the city council and the finance director. Section 6, amount of taxes. The approximate amount of $23,262,720.00 shall be the amount of gross taxes to be raised by the operating ad valorem tax levied authorized by resolution of the mayor and city council. Section 7, authority of manager. The city manager is authorized and directed to execute and deliver any and all documents and instruments, and to do and cause to be done any and all acts and things necessary or proper for carrying out the transactions contemplated by this ordinance. Section 8, repeal. All ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict or inconsistent are repealed. Section 9, severability of any word, clause, phrase, sentence, paragraph, or section of this ordinance is held to be invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction. Such declaration of invalidity shall not affect any other word, clause, phrase, sentence, paragraph, or section of this ordinance. Section 10, effective date. This ordinance shall become effective immediately upon passage on second reading. Passed and adopted by a 5-0 vote of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, on first reading this 4th day of September 2018. Passed and adopted by a blank vote of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, on second reading this blank day of blank 2018.
Thank you very much. Before anything at all, unless manager wants to mention any new.
Yeah, a couple of things, Mayor, just quickly. If you have any details, we'll have the budget director walk you through. But generally speaking, we heard what you guys said at the last meeting. And as I stated at the last meeting, I would meet with you all individually. I think probably the biggest accomplishment was the fact that we were able to eliminate the initially recommended increase in the solid waste fee. So the solid waste fee remains flat from last year to this year. Beyond that, we were able to find impact fee funding to deal with some of the park issues that you guys identified at the last meeting. We dealt with the issue of the $15 for the employees. On that matter, specifically, we were able to negotiate with our union to move up all individuals who were in pay ranges that were below that $15 threshold. And as a result, they gave us a concession for the increases for the first year of the 3-year contract. That contract will be brought back to the council for final adoption, I believe the first meeting in October. So us and the unions working together, we were able to find some savings in a couple other places to make sure that all of those changes that we made ended up being budget neutral. The one thing that I needed to put on the record is the issue of roadway, the reinvestment into our roadway. Last Friday I sent each of you a communication whereby I discussed the possibility of, instead of going on a pay-as-you-go basis, utilizing the existing available PTP surtax and gas tax. I'm asking that, and you don't have to take this vote today, but I'm asking that the board consider allowing the administration to do a revenue bond, utilizing those available gas tax resources. And I presented you guys with 2 scenarios. One scenario, if we were able to leverage $1 million of that funding, it will yield approximately $17.6 million in bond proceeds that could be utilized for direct investment in roads, sidewalk, and street reinvestment. If we're able to do 1.5 million, those 2 scenarios, actually I have 4 scenarios, but 1.5, we could get as high as 26.5 million in proceeds to invest in road and sidewalk work. Depending on the timing, we could do that fairly quickly, and we would be dealing with, as was included in that communication, interest rates all in around about 4%, a little bit over 4% for a 30-year bond in both cases. So again, it's the one thing I'd have to say that while I know
You said the one we can get right away is the first scenario?
Well, no, we can get both scenarios in the same amount of time, and the issue will be the amount of the pledge. And I want to put on the record, by doing this, this will have 0 impact, additional tax burdens to our citizens. This is utilizing existing revenue source that's a special revenue that's dedicated to road and transportation related expenses, and we would just be leveraging a portion of that revenue to do so. We'd still be able to have enough funds to support the Normally Shuttle and some of the other activities that are already being supported by that revenue.
We're going to open the public hearing but before I forget, I would like to see a resolution, if the council doesn't mind, for you to come up with a resolution of that sort. Not in the upcoming meeting, as you know.
I can wait till October.
Okay.
Resolution on what, Mr. Mayor?
On what he just said.
On
to come up.
on the
Not
2 bond?
Yeah, one of them. It would have to be one.
Okay.
So I guess you're going to be going around and briefing each of us.
Yeah, we would get with bond counsel, come up with the actual ordinance, and I can meet with you individually, go and answer any questions, go through the detail of what I sent you last week.
And the most important thing is that it will not affect any citizens ad valorem taxes.
It will not affect, there will be no additional pass over of the cost associated with this. We'll be repositioning some existing revenues that we get from outside sources in order to achieve this this capital financing.
All right. Public hearing is now open on
Can I
tab.
say so- Can I say something about what you just said? But I hope when you're gonna come, not only how much money we can borrow from a bank, but we identify the project, you have a list of projects, not just street improvements, and we don't know what street. we're gonna do
Absolutely
the
not.
improvements. We need to identify how many square footage of everything, and we need to address also the flood situation and in the city, not just borrow money, and after that, we're gonna identify what we're gonna be doing with it.
We absolutely, to your point, Councilman Bename, we absolutely would have to have a detailed project list to get to that point. The source, the beginning source of that conversation from the administration's perspective is the citywide conditional study that we already did, that each of you had. It identified all of the streets citywide and by district, worst streets, the best streets. We'd be working from that list to start. We also, as far as the sustainability and flooding, we do have the all pre-identified project lists, so we would work from those two sources and work with you and the public to make sure we're most efficient at that
All right.
first.
Because in some issue, I realize that you do repave the street, you do bring the driveway approach, but at the end of the day, the street is flooded because you didn't address the drainage for the street. That's when we're not just.
I think every
repave
single
streets.
street we are doing, we do the infrastructure. Don't we address all infrastructure?
It's not in not
No,
in
no,
e-
no,
not in
I-
every case. In
No?
some
Sometimes
cases
I
we
see
do.
something, yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I know.
No,
And,
I'm just
yeah,
saying.
Not
I mean,
all of them, I know,
yeah.
but.
when we do, I mean,
trust it to-
runabout is different than streets. But I don't see any reason you would redo a street, rehab a street, and not address the drainage system that
But it
is
need to
attached
be
to it.
a real plan,
Yeah.
what street, where, and when, and everything,
How
all the
much are we-
details.
Are we talking about here? It wasn't. It's
You
20
just
million, right?
thinking about 26 million he's talking about.
I shared two scenarios, and I think you actually have the copies next to you. But I'll let you open the public hearing so you can.
Public hearing is now open on tab B. Second reading from last. No, was it last week?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Time flies, huh?
Jim Garrett, 11610 North Bay Shore Drive. I think the manager is very smart in leveraging the 1.5 in the existing transportation surtax, gas tax, and the CRA tax increment revenue, or bringing up a revenue bond of 26 million. However, we put it as the wrong priority. Our first priority should be the water and sewer system. The water system.
This is not, the public hearing is open on tab B. For that was just an addition. Is it the same?
It's, yeah.
Oh, okay.
The water system is 90 years old. The sewer system is 60 years old. So we need to first do the water and sewer first, and second then do the streets and sidewalks, instead of the opposite, which is traditional what government does do. They break up your streets and they fix your streets and sidewalks, and after they fix it in 3 years, they come along and they break it up for the water and sewer, or the lights. Someone is getting a contract for $200,000 for maintaining Biscayne Landings in this budget. That was in Mr. Spring's summary, which was very good. And thank you, Scott, for asking for that. On page 306, we have the mayor and council getting capital for $250,000 per year. What is this for? And what is the mayor and council trees for $100,000? Page 314, the $960,177 is a city grant for MOCO employees. We're still picking up the employees. We should be reducing that subsidy. And my question is this: I would like to know what is our 7.5% of what we take in our water and sewer assets on the transfer. On the water and sewer department, when I worked there in 1989, we had 17 full-time employees. It was myself, Lee Marin, 8 account clerks, 4 service reps, and 3 meter readers. We've had technology, we have computers been instituted. Back then, we got the bills out on time every 3 months, and we had many complaints, and the service area has not increased, and neither has the number of customers. However, I noticed there are 23 employees. Thank you.
Where is that? What is it? about Biscayne Landing.
I beg your pardon, Kenneth H., 776 Northeast 125th Street. Is this,
Where's the amendment page?
I'm a little bit confused on this. Is this where we ask for additional items in the budget?
Yes.
Okay. Well, first of all, I would like you all to consider maybe hiring a trapper or putting on a contract for a trapper to get rid of these Muscovy ducks. They're all over the darn place. They're crapping all over the sidewalks. You can't walk. They're multiplying like crazy, and it's an absolute disgrace. I mean, it really is. I would like to see some money appropriated for a trapper. Instead of putting up signs, be careful of the ducks, I can't walk down the sidewalk. It's absolutely disgraceful. Second thing I would like to see, I think eye is in the beauty is in the eye of the beholders. And I look at that motor pool. It's a motor pool. You got construction debris out there, wrecked cars, so forth and so on. It's absolutely an ugly sight to look at. At construction sites, we cover them with the green felt over the chain link fence. You have a Lexus dealership on one side, you have an Audi dealership on the other side, you have the townhomes down the street. I drive there. Nobody wants to look at junk, beat-up cars. It's just cover 142nd Street with the green felt. How much can it cost? $1,000, $2,000? It's a very simple chore. And the other thing I would like to see is some money appropriated for the down trees around Emerald Lake on 16th Avenue and Emerald Drive. The trees were knocked over during the hurricane and never replaced. Thank you very much.
Okay, Laura Hill, 13075 Griffin Boulevard. Is this on? Okay, so I'm here to advocate for the Sasso Pool for new tile and bathroom renovations. They've been, that same tile has been there probably since before Scott Galvin learned to swim at Sasso Pool as a child. My children also go to Sasso Pool, and it's the only pool that we actually have right now in our city. And I think this might be the 4th year in a row that I've been advocating for it. So I really hope we can find the $200,000 that it's been estimated to cost to fix the bathrooms. There's a bathroom that is actually, just don't know if anyone's listening.
We're listening.
We passing out your
Tell him
pictures.
So-
it's in the budget. Tell him it's in the budget. We just added the amendment.
Okay, so yeah, the bathroom, the women's bathroom looks like the roof is caving in. So let's invest in this so that our kids and our people can swim there and enjoy it, and it'll last, another 50 years. Okay, thank you.
Inez Couch, 1050 Northeast 131st Street. And I am advocating for the library. And as you can see, the Friends of the Library are here. And the City Advisory Board is in agreement with our advocacy for a teen services librarian trainee. And I'm hoping that you will reconsider or consider doing that. We have so underserved our teens in the past. We haven't had really anybody to focus on developing programs for them. And now we have the opportunity to do that. So we need a full-time person to put these programs together and to keep the teens occupied. These are educational and fun programs that are going on. And I hope that we have your support in adding this headcount to our library. Thank you.
Thank you. Public hearing is still open, but hear none, see none. Public hearing is therefore closed. Members of the council on the dais.
Mr. Mayor? I got a lot of questions, so I'm going to try to make it as quickly, get through them as quickly as possible. We just heard residents come forward and advocate on behalf of the library and on behalf of the Parks Department for projects that weren't included in the budget. Were those projects presented to you as management from the department heads, and if so, why were they not included the first time around?
Actually, with regards to Sasso Pool, the project was already funded. The issue was getting the work done. We have since the last meeting, we met with the Parks Director. went through the timeline for completion of the remainder of the work. So, so it is there, and her concerns will be addressed.
The funding is there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So then on the library and their full-time teen director, was that proposed? And if so, why was it not brought forward to us?
Through the city manager, the library did submit a memo to us during the budget process of moving staffing and dollars around to incorporate a full-time teen program. That will be accounted for in this budget. So that address will be made. It was nothing that had to change in the budget. So it's going to be addressed, and they will have a full-time teen person in the library.
Okay, so I'm confused. Why did they think that they were not going to?
I'm not sure. We have the memo from Lucia, requested it, so it is going to be taken care of this
So
fiscal
they're
year.
here advocating for a funding that is already in the budget and is already included?
Yes.
Can we talk a little bit about FDOT and that project, please? I had a couple of North Miami merchants on 125th Street over the weekend voice strong opposition, although I'm sort of surprised they're not in the room tonight. Well, that they didn't come to the microphone tonight. Because they were under the understanding that half of their on-street parking here along 125th Street was going to be gotten rid of because of a forthcoming FDOT project that was going to landscape and beautify and put in medians and all this, which all sounds great, but if the merchants are going to lose half of their parking spaces, as was their impression, I have concerns. So what's the skinny on parking spots on 125th Street?
Real quickly, and I'll give the high level, and then I'll have John give you the detail. When you state, those are the statements you made are facts. This council has, on a few occasions, had the presentation of the redo of 125th Street, and there will be a significant loss of the on-street parking, and that was part of the design, or at least the existing design detail. Keeping in mind that the city went to FDOT to ask them to forward fund this project so that it could be done sooner rather than later. John will walk you through some of the details of the design that we have now and we had T.Y. Lin look at. However, I think what we could do to alleviate some of those concerns, we can look at the design and see if we can pull back on some of those elements, and also keep in mind that simultaneous to this, the city is moving forward with its parking garage initiative that would actually provide for about 250 additional spaces to service the downtown core area, in addition to the already existing municipal lots that are on the north and south sides of 125th Street that I think are not being, either we're not directing to or not being utilized, and maybe they need to be cleaned up, brightened up, restriped in order to help people know that they're there and stuff like that. So John, you could talk to the details of the project.
Mr. Manager, though, before we get into the detail, because I may not need the detail, obviously this plan, these thank God 125th Street has finally found its niche. I mean, it's been years of trying this and trying that. I can tell you what it used to look like when I first got elected and the types of businesses that were there versus now. I'm thrilled that it's organic now, that we didn't underwrite all of those businesses that are out there. They came here because they found a market and they're thriving. I don't want us to now turn 125th Street into this giant construction zone, and then they're all out of business in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. I mean, you saw probably some of the stuff that happened on Flagler Street or Miracle
Northeast
Mile.
Second.
Right, where best of intentions, construction comes in, and FDOT, you take too darn long with everything you do. What can we do to communicate what's going on to the merchants better so that they're aware? That's the first sort of question. Secondly, can we get the parking garage built before FDOT comes in so that we're not promising people parking spaces that might come in the future, but we're pointing them to existing parking spaces?
With regards to the first matter, I agree with you. I've been around Dade County for a while, and you're right. Some of those FDOT projects take a long time. In fact, Cafe Creme is here in North Miami because an FDOT project took a little too long. Obviously, we would not want that same kind of business interruption to occur to the existing businesses. However, and keeping that in mind, and also keeping in mind that, you know, this project is part of the downtown redevelopment plan that the stakeholders and everybody said, hey, we want this. In fact, I received a letter this morning from the DAPAC chair and vice chair supporting the match that is actually in the budget towards this project. With regards to the parking, the timing of the parking, myself, the CRA director, and the city attorney have been working vehemently for the last 7 months trying to come up with a financing structure that we think is going to work. And it is a P3 structure. I think I've started kind of leaking some of this information to each of you and as I've been going through my briefings. And we have told the companies and individuals that we've been talking to that the parking garage is a priority. So it'll have to be, you know, element 1A that would have to be delivered, keeping in mind some of the other development that they would like to see in order to help fill that garage or continue to fill that garage. I hate to say right now, today as I sit here, you know, Councilman, yes, we're going to start that project on October the 5th.
Right.
I know that's not the case because we got to go through a fairly lengthy RFP process. However, I'm willing to, you know, work with those merchants, with John, and try to come up with a parking plan, if you will, that, you know, helps everybody understand, well, what is the utilization of that parking right now? Is it really the retail buyers and their patrons, or is it, as I sit on the Miami Parking Authority board, the employees and others that are utilizing that parking, and so they're not really getting the retail turnover that that they think they may be missing, and work through that process with them. The last thing I want to do right now, because it will happen, if we take that match out of this budget, we will likely lose the grant.
Sure, and I'm not going to suggest that we remove the match. Right. I mean, it's thrilling actually that they're finally saying yes to some medians on 125th
Right.
Street, because not only will it beautify, it'll also slow traffic, which is vital to people crossing from Mocha to the shops and back and forth. I mean, it's something, I could find letters from Councilman Galvin in 1999 saying, FDOT, please give us medians and slow traffic, and they responded with a, you know, middle finger digit. So I'm thrilled that that's finally here, but at the same time, I don't want us to get so excited in the potential that we shut down all the businesses that are out here, we force them out of business, and then we're like, oh, well, now it looks pretty, but all those great businesses we had in 2018 are gone.
The other thing that has to happen, and John has started this process, we still have to have some more community meetings relative to the FDOT rules and regulations on bringing forth a project. So there's going to be some more time. I don't know, when are we planning to, when is their inception planned for the commencement for the project?
Well,
It's
John
still in
O'Brien.
design.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, John O'Brien, Transportation Planner. Well, depending on how things go, we're hoping to be ready to go as far as signing the final agreements in March, April, May of next year. And when you do that, you've kind of cemented things, because you know how FDOT works. And just real quick, this is not an FDOT project. This is our project that FDOT is funding and we're partnering with. And it's not anything like the Northeast Second. That was their project, and they needed to change the underground water and all that. This is strictly on the surface. So it's going to be, you know, 1-inch milling on 125th that can take a day. And on the sidewalks, it would just be phased. So as far as the closures, it's not going to be a big problem. But it's more that we want to get Like I said, work with the businesses. The presentation at DAPAC on Friday was like coming out again. But it's important too that the business community come to meetings, because what we have for 125th Street, what's embodied in this, has been adopted 10 times by the city council and mayor. I mean, this is every master plan that we've come up with, every CRA plan. You want to make downtown more walkable. You want to slow cars down. You want to make it more shady. So those are great things, but yeah, you're going to have to remove some parking in order to be able to do those things, because we only have those 80 feet. So short of trying to take out a lane of traffic, which nobody wants, that's where we have to utilize.
And I agree. I just think we need to communicate better with the merchants and be very, very organized as this rolls out, so that we maximize the off-street parking as best as possible from the garages to the north lots, so that we're not shutting down businesses. I mean, I've now learned they're losing half of their parking on the street. That's scary to me. I don't even have $1 invested on the street. So we've got to make sure that we don't just, you follow.
Yeah, it's for them.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
it's not good for them, that's
Right, and
not
it might
the
be great
idea.
for them in 2020 when it's done. It's 2019 when the construction is going on. That's where I've watched other businesses in other places,
Right,
go
right.
down.
And we did talk also, I talked with the manager, and especially if this bond happens, because right now there isn't funding, but, to do the alleyways behind, to maybe do a textured asphalt, pedestrian lighting, landscaping, improve our parking lots. Because right now at night, you don't really want to go back there. So, hopefully we can find some funding for that as well. And that can be done quick. So let's see if that comes through.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. I've got a couple other questions. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
just with
Sure.
regard to this
Yeah, yeah.
conversation, you're talking about the parking garage, you're talking about the garage north or south of 125th Street? To begin with.
I'm specifically, right now, I'm referring to the garage that would be south of 125th. That is a project that is one of our milestone projects that is required by the CRA interlocal with the county. So, but as I'm developing the strategy for the P3, we are potentially looking at a couple of public access structured garages around the core downtown.
Because people are walking, the stores are on the north side of the street, and going across, if there's construction, that's not, we need to get something done with our parking on the north side of the street.
It's included in the overall strategy.
If I might,
Sure,
back
thank
to
you.
the budget as it exists. I know we talked about at the last meeting that we were eliminating about $250,000 from our event budget, so to speak. We're going to be doing fewer events for $200,000 less. Was that accurate in my memory?
That is correct, sir.
Where do I find a list of where those events that we are doing will be funded from?
Well, if you recall my conversation, while they're kind of listed, because those are the names and dollars allocated, we wanted to kind of leave that to the council to determine
So is
which
there a
will be the.
Is there a line
what
somewhere
page
where
is it
those
on?
dollars are?
In the budget book, if you turn to page 289, under 391.
391?
Yes, sir. Page 289.
391.
But it's under account number 391, event supplies.
Okay, hold on.
Hold on one second, I'm trying
So
to
it's
get.
under parks, or it's
Yes, sir, under parks. It's under community events.
Look,
I'm
how
trying
do
to
I
get
get
there.
to it here? No,
Okay.
it should be here. I I left my book in my car.
I've got it.
I'll give him, okay.
So this lists some, you know, turkey drives, holiday lights,
And
Brewfest, et cetera.
to follow up with the manager's comment, the only thing that is in stone on that page with those events is the Brewfest, which we're contractually obligated to do. And then the rest of them will be on the dais as we move forward in the fiscal year to determine which events we're going to do.
So even though there's Earth Day at $800, I'm just grabbing that one, that's just sort of a placeholder if we decided we want to do something else?
Correct.
So Councilwoman Keys does her monthly bike rides. Those bike rides would be funded from this line right here?
So the bike rides have been, I think it was overtime costs or some police costs, pretty much that's it. So they've actually absorbed some that cost, and I think it's about $8,000 for the year. Because
So-
they use the bike ride as also a community engagement.
And I just
event.
use that as an example. For instance, I could use backpack drives. I don't see backpack drives on here. Where will backpack drives be funded from if we're going to do backpack drives?
Other than the staffing at the place, the backpack drives have been self-funded.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's easy to say it doesn't cost anything, but
I mean, the staff, there is staff,
Right.
there's staff costs to,
Right.
to do, for logistics, but the council people have been, getting the private sector to provide for the materials and all that stuff for those drives.
all right, fair enough. I just wanted to see where they were, and I couldn't
Okay.
find it on my own. I'll look at those later. The sanitation underwriting that we've done in the past that we're not going to do this year.
No, well, no.
When I say sanitation, I mean utility bill, however you want to phrase it.
When you say underwriting,
The city for 3 or 4 years has been, to keep from raising the utility bill, we've been eating those costs internally, and I think I'm getting the understanding tonight that that's not going to happen going forward.
well, that is not, you don't have an increase in rate in the budget. However, it's probably something that we will discuss later in the fiscal year, because remember, we have to adopt the 5-year,
contract.
Well, not the contract, the 5-year rate plan, because remember, the rate plan is not just about normal, just everyday operations. It's also about the capital reserve, and the rate stabilization fund, that based on the financing plan that the city council passed now 10 years ago, we have to keep things at a certain level, and the rate increases are associated with making sure we have an appropriately funded, financed, and financially supported water operation system.
Okay, so where will we be, so the sounds like the budget then that we are going to adopt tonight does plan to.
No, it does not
underwrite.
have any rate increases
No,
whatsoever.
no rate increases,
Nope.
but we're going to still, as the
I
city,
will have
be
to-
eating cost.
Yeah, well, so we are the rates that are currently assessed for water, stormwater, so on and so forth, while they've not been increased in years, are at a level that we're able to, sustain our operations. The city council, before I came on board, remember, got some financing from the state revolving fund to address what Mr. Garrett was talking about, which is the redo of the water plant itself and the system. So those projects are happening and ongoing. But in order to make sure, as we go out into the future, we maintain proper reserves, we maintain proper capital reinvestment funds, we will have to consider some rate increases.
Right, so tonight, I'm not worried about what we're gonna do in the future.
Tonight, nothing's here. There is no rate increase being proposed in this budget.
But we are still going to be subsidizing and underwriting the expenses that we have when it comes to our utilities.
From the fees that are generated from the utility. It is self-sustaining as it sits right now. It's not like the sanitation fund where the expense is in the general fund side, and the fee, the cost recovery that we're charging, is not sufficient to cover the total cost. In the case of the water utility, the water rates and the assessments to the customers are sufficient to provide water service at its full cost.
So water service is self-sufficient, is sanitation and the other parts of the utility bill self-sufficient?
The sanitation is not self-sufficient.
Okay, how much are we subsidizing that
In
this
the-
year?
oh, okay. In
And
that case,
where are we
we're-
getting that money?
It's coming from the general fund overall assessment, and we're subsidizing to the tune of about $150 per residential household.
Okay.
So just
Per
under
quarter?
two.
150
No.
per quarter, per
For the
year?
year, for the year. That translates to a number just under 2 million, a little bit over 1.5 million, closer to 2 million.
Okay. So in the future, when we're having this discussion again, we've got to find a way to, if we're gonna be living healthy and not spending grandma's money,
We're gonna have to talk about.
or our kids' money.
Correct.
We're gonna have to talk about how much we might raise rates to offset not pumping $2 million annually into it just to keep the cost because we're keeping them artificially low.
Correct, that is correct, at this
Our-
point.
Our private company
Costs
has.
are higher than what we're assessing.
Right. Okay. And then my last question, this is for Chief Each, who was up here a little bit earlier. I think we have district tree funds in place. Each district has tree money. Am I accurate on that? So if, for instance, some Emerald Drive trees come down or something along those lines, we can, I certainly would say, go into District 1 funds to. No, I know. I would certainly say that would be appropriate use of District 1 tree funds. If, it's not just the planting of new trees, it might be the removal of old trees. And we had something like that on 135th Street. I don't think the chief is still in the room. But we had 135th Street after Hurricane Irma last year. We had to remove some of the trees that came down, and then I used some of my District 1 tree money to plant new trees to replace those trees that we removed. So it was sort of like a give and take.
We're also, we're getting through our FEMA project assignments also, so we're starting to see money flow in as well. And I know the emergency management staff, we're gonna be looking at, because everybody had the tree issue, depending on what happens in DC in the coming months. There were some grants out there for tree replacements, so we'll be seeking those opportunities as well.
And then on the topic of putting the green fencing around, the cloth fencing around the motor pool, please use District 1 money to do that.
Okay.
It comes up every year and he asks for it. And we say, yeah, and then we don't do it. So if necessary, I'm certainly happy to use District 1
Not a
money.
problem, appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your patience and all my questions.
Thank you.
Which one you take? Hmm?
You next.
Yeah, he could go. You want to go?
Go ahead. You can.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of questions. First and foremost, let's talk about the process, Mr. Manager. And I know we've done it in the past this way. However, I do think next year we need to change the budget process because it's a little not feeling too good about the way it works. We present a book. There are some corrections or there are some things wrong with the book. However, those changes, we don't see them. And then what we do get, which is how it usually is, we'll get the amended, I would assume, budget in the process. So my first question is, when would this book be reflected of these changes, or?
We issued last week change memo with
I saw it.
with the replacement pages, with all the replacement pages.
Okay, well then let's talk about that because there were some grammatical errors, some other stuff within the budget that you guys need to fix. So my suggestion is budget, we need to get it together. The other suggestion for next year moving forward, let's meet with us first before we get this out so that we could see our priorities in here, because the question that Mr. Garrett and Ms. Hill we had talked about it, and it was totally, when it come out, it was like, okay, it's in the budget. So what I would like to do so that we all will be on the same page, because from the time that we spoke, I don't see nothing reflect nowhere. So I want to be assured that my conversation with you, my priorities for my district will be met this fiscal year, because they are nowhere to be found. So let's get that question up.
All of the items that you and I discussed
Yes.
were addressed in the budget, with the exception of, and that's why I put on the record, the issue of the streets resurfacing.
Yes, that I saw.
Okay,
Absolutely.
And so I wanted to make. That's why I came up with the other.
Okay.
The other avenue.
So whatever we discuss, because I went through this thoroughly, and I saw some of it, and I don't know. I'm not a budget person, so everything is in here. I just want to get a verbal.
Yes.
We all intact. Okay.
Yes.
Okay then. That's my other question. Is in regards to the media center, the library. I visited the library. If any one of you guys would please, management, between 2:30 and 5:30, would go by there. It's getting to be up. It's I don't want to use that word, but it's a little concerning. And we have to do something, Mr. Mayor, even if it's moving forward, because kids, it's like 1 million kids in there. It's crazy. So I would really would like to, and I know you guys already said you guys gonna make sure that that happens, but also if we could get the library some other assistance. I don't know if it's the kids that we had, some of them, Mr. Sorry, from the summer. It's crazy. They gotta be.
It's and we realize, and I have been there at that time. Remember, it becomes the greeting place, the meeting place, the fun place, the study place. Everything's going on
And
at that time in that
and
window.
that's my concern as an educator. I know all of it's like a safe house, and we know all of those good things can't happen in one place. Right. So we either need to come up with an alternative. What do we do with these kids? It's good that they're there, because at least they're not breaking into cars. Thank God. Thank God with that we had some incidents. But we need to figure out something. And I'm not saying for this way, but for this fiscal year, if we can. And I'm talking about on a part-time basis to give Lucia some assistance with that, which I already know you say publicly we will get a full-time person to help, but also if we could get some additional part-time, and as well as Sundays, because these kids, they don't have nothing at home, no computers, so the library become their printing shop and everything. So I don't know if we could entertain the idea of getting those mobile library that, how I think Miami-Dade, something, because it's like, whoa, this is crazy, because I don't know, you have the little kids from the elementary, and then like that, the high school kids just come and go because they're already there before, and then so there's really no study, but and the staff, I must commend them. They trying to do the best that they can with what they have, and I'm like, a city our size cannot. We must look out for our little ones when it comes to that, and I think you're going to do that. My biggest concern was the how we use the wording with the police, the Solimea, and I received numerous calls and numerous folks from the city, and I honestly think that we need to the map, okay, of the districts. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So it becomes so it's 7. So it's a district by itself.
So what we did was actually what we just handed out, and the chief will talk about it. Chief and I sat down, we met, and remember it was a total 25 in there. What we thought was best at this time, given the timeline, was to do a more equitable distribution of those additional resources. So on the map, and I just realized it cut off a little bit of your district there on the left.
That's okay. I'm used to that.
We're gonna do. It cut off everybody's, not just yours. No, but we're adding 6 additional officers in the 2 police districts that cover your commission district. The same thing for the central part of the city, and same thing for the eastern part of the city. So, and then there'll be 7 additional resources in the, I guess, if we're gonna call it the Solomia area, if you will. And, cause we're creating 2 more districts up there.
So, the red line,
That just, that's the areas between the districts.
okay, so Councilwoman Keys, if we're putting, those are not
Those are
not
not the
our
council,
district,
that's
not
not
council
your
district,
district.
or this
That's not
is
your, that's the
the
policing,
the
police
policing,
line, the police line.
district.
Yes.
Alrighty then. You know, on another note, on a brighter note, I stopped by. It's still concerning, but that's fine. You live another day, you pick your fight, and this is not one I will pick today. I did stop by the police station when they had their open house, and I must say it was the chief and the officer. They did an amazing job. Now, we had almost I don't know the exact total, but it was so many people who came out to the open house that they did, and it was very organized how they had the folks moving. So, Chief, you did you and your staff did a wonderful job at that, and I know we may need more people from what I was told, but that's that. And Mr. Manager, we'll talk about that. The other ones, so it's I don't think no one here would have any issue with the infrastructure, the streetscapes, and the plan. So I'm eager to listen and to the plan that you have relating to the infrastructure projects that you are presenting. However, the other departments, we did talk about, so you said again, and this will be my last question, everything you and I did discuss will be in here, or is in here.
It is in there, sir.
Perfect, okay, then I guess, don't listen to him. Okay, so I'm good. With that, that's all my questions. Thank you. Well, he said on the record, you don't know what him and I discussed, so you can't say it depends because you don't know what was discussed. So that's why I would like for next year, just take this as a reference, talk to us, and I think you did it one year, Mr. Deputy, that we had stuff, and when the book came out originally,
It was in
all
there.
of our projects, at
So-
least the public will see, so because now we're just gonna have to create
We're
the paperwork.
and if you allow me, Mr. Mayor, to your point, working with the budget staff and the deputy particularly, we will be doing a complete revamp of this process. So, not only will the book, the preliminary book and the display will be modified, make it a little bit more of a simpler document to go through, because right now, I think you see an insurance name and it's kind of a lot of detail. We want to give you the detail, but make it very, targeted and
Easier to read.
and much easier to read.
Because the other thing, the MOCA, for example, please
Make that change.
make
We-
that
th-
change
yeah, we
because
talked about it, yes.
it's that's all my question, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. And my first question, when we talked about events, we will move Tropical Night.
It's not removed, sir. It's really more of an issue of you guys landing on that agreement. Where I looked at it was, or in my head, the way I'm playing it, the Black History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, Haitian Heritage Month, the parade, the Tropical Nights have been some significant events that we have been pushing forward for the last few years, as the main bigger constants. And so those are the ones that we want to focus on. I know we've had a lot of other smaller events that tend to take a lot more of the staff's time and resources to push out, and trying to hone in on kind of perhaps maybe partnering, maybe you can do it, but with a partnership with an outside third party or something to deliver the to deliver the event
Yeah,
without
to
the.
cover some of the cost,
yeah.
like
Right.
all my educational events are partnering with the Haitian American Educators of Day,
Right.
which is they cover the cost, some of the cost. We did event with the Chamber of Commerce, Haitian American Chamber of Commerce. They cover a part of the cost. That's mean if we can partner in with other people when we're doing our event.
So,
But we do have Tropical Night.
Yes, it's there.
Okay.
But
And-
in the case, and like in that example you gave, to me, we take that as if it's a third party, they're coming in and they're filling out a rental application. And so they're doing it just like anybody else would. In that case, that's a normal process. They're paying us a fee to deliver a table and a chair and an apron and paying for staff. So,
Okay. And I see you add the Solemia maintenance.
yes,
Who proposed that? You? I don't remember.
that was part of our discussion with you.
Huh?
That was part of my discussion with you.
With me?
Yes.
No, it's because Jim said Scott. Is the one that burned it.